It's silly that I even work here, and I'm so lucky that I do. But it's been since the year 2000, and it's like 2009 now. Oh, I'm so good at math. And it shouldn't work. I mean, because I'm quiet, and even though I feel I'm being animated, people always describe me as deadpan. And you don't know. I mean, I'm really trying to like go out on a limb and be emotional. And they said deadpan comedian. I'm not deadpan. I'm really, really trying to be animated. So I'm really glad it works because I'm able to have a normal life. And we were just talking about my daughter before the show, and she's fantastic. And otherwise, when you're a performer, you're not home and you're flying all around the place. So this way, I'm home. It takes me 10 minutes to drive to work, and I'm up at 6:30 every morning to walk the dog and get her to school.
Now, help me with this. You're a female comic, and before this you were on the road. You're too classy to be a female comic on the road. I think this is the only place for you. Vegas, your own showroom, living here. You're too nice for the road.
I didn't love the road, to tell you the truth. It was fine when I was younger, and I was traveling a lot. At the beginning, staying in the comedy condos was a bit challenging, but luckily that didn't last long. When you get to the point where you're in theaters and you stay in nice hotels, and it's still a little bit grueling, but it's much more pleasant. But when you're first starting and you're going into those comedy condos and you're just saying, they could have put a light bulb in here so I could see, and you try to call out on the phone and they've cut it off because they've been and there's some kitchen with stains on the walls where people have thrown spaghetti. That wasn't the greatest thing. But I have to say, I always had fun. And it was always fun being a comic, and I think that's the reason that I've stayed in this business all these years. I really, really love it. I love what I do.
I've been fascinated by the Vegas audiences because they're not the most polite sometimes. I've seen quite bad behavior, people coming and going, talking, cameras, people being thrown out, drinking. Again, you deserve a good audience.
Mostly the people who come to see me are very polite. There have been one or two instances where somebody has had one of those drinks that are 7 yards long, and they come in with that strapped to their bodies. But it doesn't really happen because, you know what I think it is? I think it's a silly thing. Because I'm known as being someone who gets dressed up to do my act. People feel that they should get dressed up to see me. And when you get dressed up, you tend not to want to throw up on your clothing. I think it's as simple as that. So I just think it all stems from the fact, that's not a word. The fact that I get dressed up and I look showered.
What I love about your style of comedy is you do jokes. You actually want to make us laugh with a punchline. That's kind of out right now. I've seen loads of comedians recently who just seem to talk and it's one little titter after. It doesn't really go anywhere. I'm so thrilled that you tell stories and they've actually got a punchline.
I wish I could do it a different way, because this way is very difficult. And if you tell stories, you can use a lot of time up and you don't have to get a laugh. But unfortunately, I've developed a style where I do 3 jokes a minute because I timed myself. When I used to do sets on Johnny Carson and all those, I used to do 4 minutes and allow 1 minute for laughter. So I timed myself with a little stopwatch, and I realized I do 3 jokes a minute. So I do 3 laughs a minute, and it just doesn't work. Because I get an audience in a rhythm of expecting a punchline, I have to consistently have a punchline. If I would come up and do a story and ramble on, that's a different set of rules, and then the audience goes by that set of rules. But this is my set of rules. This is the style that I've employed all these years and I'm comfortable with. I don't pay much attention to other people right now because my daughter is pretty much, I told her she's 24/7. She said, "No, I'm not, Mommy, I'm 6." And she wants to be a comedian. Oh my God. But anyway.
I'm thinking about your daughter and then seeing Mummy's face 6 foot high on billboards across Vegas. Has that happened yet? Has she seen that lady on the poster and said, "Isn't that you?" She
knows, but she doesn't necessarily know that all the other women on the billboards aren't other people's mothers. So she doesn't think that she thinks it's a normal thing. And Some of the people, the kids in her class have said, your mommy's on Billboard. She, yeah, what about it? She doesn't think, when you grow up like that, you don't think anything different. And I have a whole other life where, I'm doing the Mother's Day craft project in her first grade, and we have to collect bugs on spring break and bring them in and write about them. And it's a fascinating world. Also because I never had a very good education, and I was always wanted to be a dancer, and I didn't really study very hard, didn't go to school. I'm going through school with her. So I'm in the first grade now. And I'm learning punctuation.
But doesn't it annoy you, though, when you can't answer the questions that a 6-year-old should be answering?
I have my husband who went to Cambridge, so I just hand it over to him. Whenever it gets too difficult for me, I say, hey, Martin, over here, it's your turn. And by the 3rd grade, I think he's going to have to take over. But I actually am, because I really didn't know a lot of the rules that she's learning a lot about punctuation and sentence structure. And I'm also learning the guitar, because she's taking guitar lessons, and I'm also reliving piano and tennis, because we go to piano and tennis. So I'm very busy, and I don't get to watch a lot of comedians.
You could be like an all-round entertainer now. You could put a bit of guitar in the act, a bit of comedy, a bit of piano. I mean, you become an all-rounder.
No, I don't want to do that. But thank you anyway. I like just sitting there picking the guitar, learning all the notes. But I tried at one point to incorporate maybe a song in because I can sing. I was a singer on Broadway and a dancer on Broadway. It just doesn't fit. The only thing that fits is me telling jokes, and to take the audience away from that is like making a U-turn with a truck with no wheels. It just doesn't work. So I just do my comedy.
And of course, you're very good at it, and you're so known around the country. There's a lot of people coming to this town, a lot of celebrities in and out. How does that feel when somebody's come to see you and then they pop back to say thank you afterwards?
There aren't many people who do. One of the people who's seen me a few times, I'm so complimented that she's come, is Lily Tomlin. And I think she's a genius, and she's a fantastic woman. And I was very excited that she came to see me. And Steve Martin, who's another one of my idols.
And that must be nice when there's somebody in who's watching you, and shouldn't it be the other way around? It's hard to cope with that, isn't it, when they know who you are and it's actually you who should be knowing them?
I much prefer an audience of total strangers. I hate when friends come to see me. I don't like when my husband comes to see me. I don't like anybody I know in the audience. I love the freedom of being in front of total strangers.
Because, of course, you talk about personal stuff as well, and there are boundaries crossed there. We all know it's jokes, but still you're talking about real people in your life, even if there are somewhat exaggerated punchlines.
It's true, but I would never say anything that would hurt anybody's feelings. And in fact, I remember a long time ago when I was a dancer, and I went to see Bill Cosby, and I think he's wonderful. And by the way, I watch the Bill Cosby show because my daughter is very into it. It's 25 years old. It's still funny. And I greatly admire him, but he did a whole routine about toilet training his children, and it was on stage, and I thought, I bet his children wouldn't like it. It was, it was very graphic and a bit personal. So I made a mental note, if that I were ever to become a comedian, and I never ever thought I would, that I would keep it where I was the brunt of the joke. Even though I talk about my daughter, my husband, he doesn't care. Whatever I can say. But I still would never say anything that would embarrass him either, because my life is much more important than my act. And if somebody doesn't like a joke that I say, I just throw it away. I write a different joke.
And what's it like here at Harrah's? Last time I spoke to you, were at New York. A little trip down the boulevard, which will take you about 3 hours if you're walking.
That's true. Well, you have to get past a lot of people who are carrying those big drinks and a lot of people who are handing you pamphlets with women who are partially dressed.
Now, help me with that. What's in those pamphlets? I've not been brave enough to read them yet.
I haven't either. I think it's more of the same. Probably what's on the front, you get a little more of that on the inside, don't you think? And then if for some, people must be calling them up because they're everywhere. So anyway, I have a few jokes. I don't tell jokes in interviews, but I do. You have to have jokes about everything that happens in Las Vegas, so I do have jokes about that. Now, to answer your question, I loved working at New York, and I was there for about 5 years. And the one thing that I've been very lucky with is working with people who are very nice. And when the opportunity came up here at Harrah's, it was a great opportunity because it was closer to the mall, and it was closer, and it was closer to where I lived. And they were building city center in New York, near New York, and I couldn't get to work anymore because they were closing the roads and the traffic and the dust. I'd get my car washed, and it was just a mess by the time I'd get to work. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. So my contract was up in New York, and I got this great offer from Harris, and I said, my car is going to last the wash is going to last a week at least, and I don't have to, fight all this traffic, and I'm right near the mall, so here I am.
At what point is it just going to all stop?
It stopped now. Yeah, now there's no more building. You're here when it stopped. It's, it's sad. They've got the structures of the echelon, and all these just rooms with no windows and no walls, and the cranes are there, and they're watering the dust down there. Oh my gosh, this city is. I think it tried to grow a little bit too fast. I think the people who were involved with the casinos thought it was a never-ending just pit of money that would keep flowing through, and you just have to stop sometimes. Sometimes growth isn't that fantastic. Sometimes you just have to be happy with what you have. So I think we're going through a period of readjusting here in Las Vegas, and I think it's a great time for people to come to Las Vegas because everything that used to be very, very expensive, all these fancy hotels, are very affordable. And I think everybody's offering special deals. My husband and I were saying, we live right here, we're tempted to stay at a hotel for a couple nights. The deals are getting so good.
And of course there are parts of town that look like Fallujah at the moment, because as you say, it's just shells of buildings.
I know, it's a little bit scary. They look bombed out, it's true.
But now's the time to come and see you more than anybody, because you're gorgeous, you're talented, you're funny, and you're Rita Rudner. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, well, see, now you're nice to me. See, now. Thank you very much. Hope you have a nice time in Vegas. Don't take any pamphlets.